This is the world famous Press H2O fountain solution pump for your offset printing press. And this is the upper rebuild kit, which you can use to rebuild the upper part of your pump, as the name implies. On your pump, you probably already have this valve hooked up right here. If you don't, you should. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is loosen the impeller shaft to make it easier to separate from the pump motor. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to loosen the two set screws here and here. We're going to use this miracle of modern technology to do the job. All right, I'm going in. Wish me luck. One of the things they don't tell you when you're growing up is the number of times in your adult life you'll probably have to say to yourself, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. This may be one of those times. Right, you've got your set screws loosened. Now you want to take off the acorn nuts. There are 4 of them. They sit atop hex nuts. So let's grab a hold of that guy. Ta-da! Do that 4 times. Okay, you have the acorn nuts removed. Now we will take off the hex nuts. Etc. until you have all 4 hex nuts removed. Okay, you've got your set screws loosened, you got the acorn nuts off, you got the hex nuts off. Now you're going to separate the motor top from the impeller housing, the bottom. This is upside down. It's probably right side up for our viewers in Australia. And it's just going to come right apart. See, super easy. Just come, there we go. Yeah, it's not going to be that easy for you. Yours is in a manufacturing environment. There's some gunk on there. Maybe something's a little bent because you had an operator that wasn't incredibly careful with it, but it should just come apart. You don't need to take the impeller out. You don't need to mess around with this stuff. That's later. All right, if you are doing an upper rebuild, that means you are putting a new motor on. So let's take the old yucky motor away. Bring in your brand new motor and remount everything. The first thing you want to do is put on your motor mounts. You have 4 of these that come in the kit. And then you're going to mount this back on top of it. Now you'll see that there are 4 holes and 4 bolts. And you're probably worried, oh no, what if I put them on in the wrong position? You can't do it. These holes are not a perfect square. They're only going to match up one way. The way to figure it out is you look where this section is, this nice squarish section, and you match it up with the squarish section on the motor. All right, with the plate mounted on the 4 bolts, you're going to use the hex nuts and attach the whole thing together. Those motor mounts are pretty squishy, and so you can push down on it to get things started. Awesome. Oh my God. There you go. So once you got them started, then ratchet them down. Try to do it so they all go down about the same rate, go back and forth, because not only are you attaching the motor to the housing here, these are what keep this going, the shaft, going straight up and down. So if you tighten one down a bunch and you leave the one behind it barely tightened, the whole thing will lean towards the one you've tightened. So use those not just for attaching it, but for leveling. Come on. Okay, so your hex nuts are all screwed down tight. Before you put the acorn nuts on, let's make sure your shaft is where you want it to be, that it's not tilted to one side or the other. And this is spinning pretty freely. What we're going to do is it'll go up and down because these two guys are pretty loose. Remember those two guys? These set screws. Here is an example, those two set screws. So what you're going to do is position this so it's not rubbing on the top, the impeller is not rubbing on the bottom, right in between. And then you will tighten those guys up using this miracle of modern science. Okay, it spins. Now you're going to put the acorn nuts on. And you're done.